Everyone, I welcome you here to St. Demetrius this evening as we celebrate the Pan-Orthodox Vespers, and especially we want to welcome His Eminence, Metropolitan Muron of New Zealand, and also traveling with him is Father Meletios. Father has been visiting here in the United States to see the practices and how we have grown as a church in America, and the things that we are doing which they might be able to imitate in New Zealand. But as has proven the case, we are learning more from him than he is learning from us, Your Eminence. We are deeply impressed with your love for God and your piety, and especially the grace that God has given you. And so for that, we are extremely honored and blessed to have you with us. His Eminence is going to be giving a talk downstairs with a slideshow, I understand. I would like for His Eminence to say a few words now, but before I have him speak, we also have Nick Kasemeotes, who is fundraising for IOCC. He is an officer with International Orthodox Christian Charities and has been with them for 12 years now. And he is here to just give you some brief words on IOCC, which really, of course, needs no introduction, but they are the right hand, the philanthropic arm of the entire Orthodox Church in America, all jurisdictions combined. And they do incredible work. In fact, they are so frugal in all of our fundraising that 93% of every dollar that they raise goes to the actual need. So Nick, welcome. We're so happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Father. Kasemeotes, Your Eminence, your blessings, Reverend Fathers. There was a Protestant minister who needed his vestments cleaned, so he dropped off his vestments to a dry cleaner, and he went back after a few days to pick him up. And the dry cleaner said, I see maybe you're a pastor. He said, yes, I'm a pastor. And he says, you know, I'm old school. You pastors, you shepherds do a lot of good in the world. There's no charge for you. So he took his vestments. The next day, the dry cleaner owner came to his door to unlock, and propped up against the door was a beautiful Bible with a thank you note. A few days later, a Catholic priest came and dropped off his vestments and picked him up after a few days. The owner says, wow, you ministers do a lot of good in the world. There's no charge for you. This is old school. This is what my dad taught me. So the next day, the owner came to his little shop. He saw on the front door a beautiful rosary with a thank you note. Well, you know where this is going, right? A few days later, an Orthodox priest comes and drops off his vestments, comes back after a few days. The owner goes, are you a priest? He says, yes, I'm an Orthodox priest. He says, well, you know, it's my tradition, my blessings to do this for you gratis, for free. Well, the next day, the shop owner came, and guess what he saw? A line of Orthodox priests. Whenever I joke about the priests, I get more laughs than anything else. That's some deep psychology there. So, Father said I'm a development officer. That's a fancy word for professional beggar, and that's what I do. But I don't beg for myself. I beg for people around the world in great need. IOCC, International Orthodox Christian Charities, is our arm in this country to help a hurting world. And we've been active in about 60 countries over 33 years. We do around $30 million worth of aid to the following countries. And Kim will have materials downstairs about what we're doing if you want specifics, but just a quick rundown. In Africa, with Ethiopia, Kasemeotes, Uganda, Orthodox schools, the Republic of Georgia. We're helping people establish greenhouses. And this is kind of the spectrum. As I said this morning, it's not disaster relief in war, natural disasters, but it's also getting people back to work, educating the young people, things like this. In Greece, we have several programs. Give for Greece, from the economic collapse. We've been helping people with food, people who've lost their pensions and jobs. Up north in northern Greece, we have a program to give out grants to small businesses to get the economy moving again. We were also active with the fires and the floods in Evia in northern Greece. In the country of Jordan, primarily dealing with children with disability, autism, eyeglasses, hearing, wheelchairs, things like this. In Lebanon, a very large program with an influx of refugees from the war, dealing with children with malnutrition and getting water to the refugee camps. In Syria, Dream Centers, these are children who have gotten traumatized by seeing some terrible, terrible things in the war, trying to get them out of their kind of closed off, emotional and social with art and music. In the United States, we've been very, very active and challenged this year with the hurricanes down south, with muck outs, with emotional and spiritual counseling. Father Fotios is one of them. He's been to Florida, also the fires in California. The Western Balkans, Bosnia microloans. These are loans of $1,000 to $3,000 to help small businesses get going. Ukraine, we've been active from the very beginning, dealing with the refugees flooding to Romania and Poland, and dealing with human trafficking, trying to stop it and prevent it at the border as these women and children escape. The earthquake in Syria and Turkey, Armenia, the Holy Land now is on our minds. St. Porphyrios Church, the oldest Orthodox church in the area in Gaza, has been home for hundreds and hundreds of refugees from the conflict. We have helped provide mattresses, food, medicine, clothing, things like this. And I'm happy to answer any questions on the way out. Our headquarters are in Baltimore, Maryland, but I work full-time remotely in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And if you fly out of the airport in Milwaukee, after you get through security, you'll see an interesting sign that's kind of gained national attention. It says recombobulation area. Now, that's not a real word, recombobulation. So when you go through security, unless you're TSA pre-check, you have to take off your shoes, you have to take off your clothes, your jewelry, maybe your belt, take out your computer and all this stuff, right? So you are discombobulated, right? So this area is to recombobulate. And this is kind of what Great Lent is, if you look at it. During the year, we get discombobulated. We lose touch with our generosity, with our prayer life, with our fasting. And Great Lent presents us the opportunity to recombobulate, to refocus. And these three pillars of our faith, prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, go together. Father Fotios mentioned this morning beautifully about confession. And confession isn't just unloading the things that we have done bad. It's also asking, have we been generous? It's St. Paul says, the things I want to do, I don't do. And sometimes we don't think about that in confession. Have I tithed? Have I given 10% back to God? And here are the following quotes. I read 3 of them, but I'm going to need your help on one of them. It's very difficult. This is St. Basil, and this is the end of what I'm going to say. These are the fathers, not me. I know many who fast and pray and demonstrate every manner of piety, so long as it costs them nothing, yet would not part with a penny to help those in distress. Of what profit to them is the remainder of their virtue? So you see, fasting and prayer isn't going to do it by itself. We have to learn to be charitable, to help those in need. St. John Chrysostom was a great ascetic, lived in a time of great asceticism, yet he prioritized eleemosini, almsgiving, merciful giving, literally in Greek, above the other virtues, above fasting and prayer. Why did he do that? Because he says fasting helps us, prayer helps us, almsgiving helps us and others. And this is what he says. He says, stretching out one's hand to the poor on earth, one reaches the very summit of heaven where Christ the King receives the gift. So when you give to those in need, the person really getting the gift is the Lord in heaven. This is a hard one. This is St. John Chrysostom again. Almsgiving is a robe of loving kindness, holier than the sacred vestment. You see the priests walking around in the great entrance and people reach out. When we give charitably, St. John says, we are holier than those vestments. Again, St. John, nothing attracts God to us as much as mercy. And obviously, he's known for his strictness and sternness. Listen to this. Again, I quote St. John Chrysostom. If you were unable to enter the kingdom of God by way of virginity, then enter it by the way of one marriage. If you cannot do it by one marriage, then perhaps you can do it by means of a second marriage. If not by a second marriage, then by restraint. If all those fail, then by charity, by almsgiving. This is the hard one now. Parakalona namavithesis. This is hard. When God works a miracle for us, we are indebted to God. Now, I've been through 2 stents of kidney stones, and those of you who have suffered with me know how painful it is. It's excruciating pain. So I'm sitting there praying to every saint I know for a miracle to alleviate this pain. Listen, I wish I would have read this earlier.
I know this well.
When God works a miracle for us, we are indebted to God. But in giving what we have for the others in need, God is indebted to us by carrying out his work on earth. How is God indebted to us? Answer that later. Finally, one last one from St. Basil. And as I said this morning, the fathers are wonderful because they say the things we're afraid to say to each other. You must leave your money behind in the end, whether you want to or not, right? How many priests come out and say that? We should, right? You must leave your money behind in the end, whether you want to or not. But the honor that proceeds from the good works you do will escort you to the Father, to the Master of all. And then it gets even better. All the people will surround you that you have helped when you stand before the Judge of all, calling you Father or Mother or Benefactor, and all the other names that pertain to those who have shown them mercy. So, not Nick, St. Basil. When we do the things we do for those in need, whether it's IOCC, to help His Eminence, those people will gather around us. We probably won't even know who they are, their names, but they will stand with us, behind us, before the judge, and call us these wonderful things. Thank you for allowing me a few words. Thank you, Your Eminence. There's more downstairs, and thank you for your support of IOCC.
Thank you, Nick. I also want to recognize Bishop Thomas of Oakland who is here visiting the Seattle area, all the Antiochian parishes locally to Seattle. So, Your Grace, thank you. Many years to you, and we are grateful to have you amongst us.
There's two people in Seattle who have been kind of the catalyst, the seed, the yeast of many years of activities and fundraisers for us. Kim and Theo, a very small gift. Through your efforts, we've raised and helped a lot of people. During the economic collapse in Greece, the government did not have enough money to provide heating fuel for the 30 or so homes for elderly, for orphans, for children. And we were able to supply. We heard reports it was 60 degrees in some of the older people's homes and apartments in these facilities. This icon is hand-painted from a child from one of these homes, a special needs child. So it's just a small thank you for all the work you've done. And as I said, it's a lifetime appointment. So we look forward to coming back. And Kim needs help as we try to re-engage our activity here. So we don't give a lot of these away. I don't want to see it on eBay. So thank you for everything you've done. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Nick.